I, female, 29, have been dating my boyfriend Derek, male, 31, for 3 years now, and I honestly don't even know where to start with this. Like, I'm literally shaking as I type this, and I've rewritten this intro like 5 times already. We've been talking about getting married for the last 6 months, even looked at rings together back in February. I thought everything was perfect. I guess that should have been the first red flag, lol. Nothing is ever actually perfect, right? So, some background. I work as a graphic designer at a small marketing agency. It's a good job, pays decent, but not amazing. I've dealt with anxiety and panic attacks since college. Nothing dramatic, just regular therapy and occasionally some breathing exercises when things get overwhelming. I've always been super open with Derek about all this, and he seemed really supportive. His family knew too, especially his mom, Helen, female, 58, who I thought was basically going to be my future mother-in-law. She even sent me this book about anxiety management for Christmas last year, which was actually really thoughtful. About 8 months ago, Derek suggested moving back to his family's house temporarily to save money for our future. At the time, it made total sense. Why pay rent when his mom had plenty of space and actually wanted him around? We still spent like 3 to 4 nights a week together, either at my apartment or at his mom's place. Helen was always super nice to me, making me feel welcome, cooking dinner for us, the whole thing. I actually really like her, and we'd text sometimes even when Derek wasn't around. So anyway, last week Tuesday, I was at Derek's family home for dinner. Helen was out at her book club, so it was just us. Derek went to take a shower and asked me to order our usual Chinese takeout while he was in there. He handed me his phone, I left mine charging in the car, and said the restaurant number was in his recents. And then, the notifications started popping up. From Tinder, fucking Tinder. I know I'm jumping around with the story, sorry. I'm just trying to get this all out while I still have the energy to type it. At first, I honestly thought it was some kind of joke, or maybe a spam email or something. But when I clicked on it, there it was, an active Tinder profile, with his actual pictures, including one I took of him on our weekend trip to the mountains in March. His most recent message was from literally earlier that day. I felt like I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking so bad. I started checking to see if there were other dating apps, and sure enough, Bumble, Hinge, all of them, all with active conversations. Some of these conversations went back months, at least 4 months, based on what I saw. There were actual conversations about meeting up, him describing himself as single, even complaining about dating in this city to some of these women. While all this is happening, I'm hearing the shower running and knowing he's going to come out any minute, and I'm sitting there having a complete breakdown. This is the guy who, just a few months ago, went on this whole rant about his coworker who was cheating on his wife, calling him a selfish asshole, and saying he could never understand how people do that to someone they claim to love. The fucking hypocrisy. I'd actually been planning this surprise weekend at this cabin for our anniversary next month. Already put down a non-refundable $400 deposit. We'd been talking about having kids within the next 2 years. I had literally been on a call with my mom the day before, talking about potential wedding venues. When he came out of the shower, I showed him his phone with Tinder open. His face went white, and he immediately accused me of snooping through his phone. I reminded him that he asked me to order food and I wasn't snooping. He grabbed the phone, claiming it was just an old account he forgot to delete from before we were serious. When I pointed out there were messages from that very day, he said he was just using it to make friends in the area, and it wasn't a big deal. I told him I saw his messages to a girl named Kayla, where he said he was single and wanted to meet for drinks the next day. He got angry and said I was making it into a bigger deal than it was. When I asked what he meant, he suggested it was an anxiety thing and maybe I should call my therapist. I started crying, asking why he would cheat and lie for months while we were talking about marriage. He just grabbed his keys, said he needed some space and that I was acting crazy, then left me sitting there at his mom's house. I was so humiliated, I just called an Uber and went home. The next few days were awful. Derek barely responded to my texts. When he did, he just kept saying I was blowing everything out of proportion and that it wasn't what it looked like. He kept bringing up my anxiety, like my normal reaction to finding out your boyfriend is mimed, actively trying to cheat, is somehow a mental health issue. But the weirdest thing was that his family suddenly got super cold toward me too. Helen wasn't responding to my texts asking if we could talk. I got removed from this family group chat for his cousin's engagement party next month. I was so confused. Like, did everyone know about this except me? I finally got his sister Amber, female, 27, to talk to me. We've gotten pretty close over the years, and she's always been straight with me. She seemed really uncomfortable, but she finally told me that Derek had told his entire family that I was too mentally unstable for marriage and had a breakdown when he suggested delaying our engagement. He told them all that my anxiety had been getting worse, and I was getting paranoid and controlling, even accusing him of cheating because of my insecurities. I couldn't fucking believe it. He was using my mental health against me to cover his ass. The thing that makes me the angriest looking back is that last year, he actually suggested I skip some therapy sessions because they're expensive and probably not helping that much anyway. I see now he was trying to keep me from support. I've never been the type to create drama or be confrontational. I hate conflict so much. But I couldn't just let him destroy my reputation and paint me as some crazy girlfriend while he was the one cheating. It makes me so angry because I've worked so hard to manage my anxiety in a healthy way and be open about it. And you know what makes this even worse? 2 years ago, when he lost his job, I covered his portion of the rent for 3 months while he found himself and figured out his next career move. I was supportive and patient and never once made him feel bad about it. I even helped him update his resume. I honestly thought his family was judging me this whole time for my mental health stuff, but now I realize they were just believing Derek's lies. It hurts so much to think that Helen, who I thought really cared about me, would just assume I'm unstable without even talking to me. So last night, I just snapped. I went through my phone and found all the screenshots I'd taken of his dating profiles. I took pictures of all the conversations where he literally talked about being single, arranged dates, and even one where he described his job and living situation, which proved these weren't old profiles. And I sent them all to Helen, Amber, and his 2 aunts that he's really close with. I just wrote a simple message explaining that Derek had been on dating apps throughout our relationship, and when I caught him, he made up lies about my mental health to cover his tracks. Then I turned off my phone and just cried myself to sleep. I was so emotionally exhausted. When I woke up this morning and turned my phone back on, I had 17 missed calls. 8 from Derek, 4 from Helen, 2 from Amber, and 3 from other family members. There are a bunch of voicemails I haven't listened to yet. I don't know what to do now. Part of me thinks maybe I went too far sending all that to his family. But another part of me is like, why should he get to lie about me and damage my relationships with people I care about? I guess I need to listen to the voicemails, but I'm honestly scared. Did I do the right thing? I've never done anything like this before. Edit. Thank you all for the support. To answer some common questions, yes, I took plenty of screenshots before he could delete anything. And no, we don't live together. He moved back to his mom's place 8 months ago, supposedly to save money for our future, which I now realize was probably just so he could have more freedom to cheat. A lot of people are asking why I didn't just break up with him immediately. Honestly, I was in shock, like complete dissociation. I've known this man for 3 years and thought we were planning a life together. My brain couldn't process it fast enough to have a perfect reaction. I'm not proud of how I handled it, but I was literally having a panic attack while discovering all this. Now for the first update. I caught my boyfriend on Tinder and exposed him to his family. So a lot has happened since my post yesterday. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented and sent messages. This is probably going to be super long. Sorry, because so much has happened in the last 24 hours. I can barely keep up with it all myself. I finally got the courage to listen to all those voicemails last night. I was honestly terrified, like my hands were literally shaking while I was holding my phone. I decided to start with Helen's, Derek's mom, messages first because I was most worried about what she would say. Guys, I was not prepared for what I heard. Helen's first message was her voice all shaky, saying she needed to talk to me as soon as possible. The second one, from about an hour later, was completely different. She told me that when she got my message with the screenshots, she was having a family dinner with Derek, his sister Amber, his uncle Jack, and Aunt Martha. She said she confronted Derek right there at the dinner table and showed him everything I sent. According to Helen, Derek immediately tried to say the screenshots were fake or from before we were serious. They weren't. You could literally see dates from this month and him talking about his current job. In the background of the voicemail, I could hear raised voices that sounded like Derek and his uncle Jack arguing about something. Helen sounded really upset and kept apologizing to me for believing Derek without talking to me first. But the craziest part, she told Derek he couldn't stay at the family home anymore. She kicked him out. She said she didn't raise my son to lie and cheat like this, and that she was deeply disappointed in him. I was in shock hearing this. Amber's messages were basically the same, apologizing for believing Derek and saying she should have known better. She mentioned that their cousin's wedding is next month, and she found out Derek had RSVP'd, saying he was coming alone. Like, not even mentioning me, even though I literally bought a dress specifically for this wedding. That actually hurt almost as much as the cheating, because it showed he had been planning to exclude me from family stuff. Then, I finally listened to Derek's messages. The first few were angry about me going behind his back and involving his family in our personal business. But then they changed to him begging me to talk to him, saying we could work this out, and that I was overreacting. The worst message was one where he claimed he only made the dating profiles to boost his self-esteem, but never actually met anyone in person, which is a complete lie, because I saw the messages where he was literally setting up dates and giving his phone number to these women. Like, does he think I'm stupid? I also saw messages where he was complaining about dating in this city to some girl. Who does that if they're in a committed relationship? I decided to block him on everything: phone, social media, email, everything. But I've kept in touch with Helen and Amber. They've actually been really supportive, and I appreciate that they didn't just automatically take his side because he's family. Part of me, like a tiny stupid part, kept thinking maybe he really does love me and just made a horrible mistake. But then I remember all those conversations I saw. He wasn't just browsing. He was actively pursuing other women while we were talking about marriage. God, I'm such an idiot for even considering forgiveness for a second. One of the hardest parts was having to explain all this to my parents. They really liked Derek, and my mom had actually started a Pinterest board with wedding inspiration. She kept sending me links to venues and dresses, and now I have to tell her it's all off because her future son-in-law is a cheating asshole. That conversation was awful, especially because my dad really bonded with Derek over their shared love of fishing or whatever. I hate that I have to disappoint them too when I didn't even do anything wrong. I found out something else from Amber that makes everything so much worse. Apparently, this isn't Derek's first time doing something like this. She told me he has a pattern of similar behavior in past relationships that the family had kind of dismissed as youthful mistakes or blamed on crazy exes. She said his college girlfriend actually reached out to Helen years ago with similar complaints, but they believed Derek when he said she was just bitter about the breakup. Looking back now, I can see so many red flags I ignored, like how he would get weird about me touching his phone even though I never snooped before this, or how he would sometimes disappear for hours and come back with these weird explanations that didn't quite add up. I always trusted him because, I don't know, I guess I thought that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. Trust the person who says they love you. Wow, I feel so stupid now. The worst part happened yesterday afternoon when Derek showed up at my workplace. My coworker Jen texted me from reception saying Derek was there looking upset and asking for me. I told her to say I was in a meeting and couldn't talk. I was literally hiding in the bathroom having a panic attack. But apparently, he refused to leave and kept saying he needed 5 minutes to explain. My boss Mark noticed the commotion at reception and went out to see what was happening. Derek told him it was a private relationship matter that he needed to discuss with me. Mark told him this wasn't the place for personal discussions. Then Derek started getting louder, saying I was turning everyone against him with lies, and Mark had to call building security. They made him leave, but then he sent flowers to my desk later that day with a note about how sorry he was. I just gave the flowers to Jen, who took them to her grandmother's nursing home because I couldn't even look at them without feeling sick. My boss was super supportive after. I was so embarrassed about bringing personal stuff to work, but he was really understanding. He even told reception to screen my calls for a while. My coworkers have been great too. they've been joking about sending Derek dating tips from our competitor app. Dark humor, but it made me laugh for the first time in days. Derek's behavior has gotten worse, though. He's shown up at my apartment building 3 times now. He leaves voicemails from different numbers when he realizes I've blocked him. He even made new email accounts to contact me after I blocked his regular one. Last night, he literally waited outside my building for 3 hours until my neighbor Tom threatened to call the police. It's starting to feel scary. The most unexpected thing was Derek's dad reaching out to me. He's been mostly estranged from the family for years. I've only met him twice. I was super suspicious at first, thinking he was taking Derek's side. But instead, he told me about patterns of manipulation that Derek had learned growing up watching him. He wasn't excusing the behavior at all, just providing context. He actually expressed regret about being a bad role model and seemed relieved that Helen was handling things differently than she had with him years ago. I've started going to therapy to deal with all this betrayal and being lied to. My therapist pointed out that when Derek tried to blame my anxiety and make me seem like the crazy one, he was using a manipulation tactic called DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Learning about that has helped me see his behavior more clearly. Yesterday, Helen invited me to lunch, which made me super nervous. I thought maybe she was trying to get us back together or something, but she actually wanted to apologize in person for her son's behavior and tell me that she values our relationship regardless of what happens with Derek. She shared that she'd always worried about Derek's tendency to blame others for his problems. Apparently, it's a trait he shares with his father. The latest thing is that Derek's been telling our mutual friends that I overreacted to him just having dating apps installed but not using them. Such bullshit. I know exactly what I saw. There were active conversations where he was literally planning dates and telling women he was single. I've been tempted to send the screenshots to every single person he talks to, but I'm trying to take the high road, most of the time anyway. I feel stronger for standing up for myself, but also completely exhausted by all this ongoing mess. I have no idea how long Derek is going to keep trying to either get me back or control the narrative with our friends. I'm just taking it one day at a time and trying to focus on myself. Edit. A few people have asked if I'm safe with Derek showing up unannounced. I've documented everything and am considering a restraining order if it continues. My building manager has been notified, and they're keeping an eye out for him. I'm staying with a friend this weekend just to have some space. To the people suggesting I should have handled this privately instead of dragging his family into it, HE is the one who lied about me to his family first. He told them I was mentally unstable and paranoid before I ever sent them anything. I was just defending myself with actual evidence. Some of you asked why Derek's mom believed me so quickly. I think it's because the evidence was really clear. Dates, specific conversations about his current job, etc. And because Amber mentioned this fit a pattern they'd seen before but ignored. Also, Helen mentioned something about not making the same mistake twice, which I think refers to not believing his college girlfriend years ago. Thank you for all the support and advice. It means so much to have people validate that I'm not crazy or overreacting. I never thought I'd be in this situation, but knowing I'm not alone has helped tremendously. And to the handful of people defending Derek in my DMs, seriously, go away. Now for the second update. Wow, I can't believe it's been almost 3 months since everything happened with Derek. A lot of you asked for an update, and honestly, there's been so much going on that I haven't had time to write this. But things have finally calmed down, so I figured I should update you guys. First off, the most surprising thing is that I'm still super close with Derek's mom, Helen, and his sister, Amber. I never expected those relationships to survive this whole disaster, but they've been amazing through everything. Helen actually invites me over for Sunday family dinners now, the same ones Derek isn't allowed to attend anymore. Sometimes I feel guilty sitting at his family's dinner table when he can't even be there, but then I remember I didn't do anything wrong. He did. And it's not like I asked Helen to keep inviting me, she just does. After Helen kicked Derek out, he moved in with his friend Mike, who apparently had no idea about any of this until Derek showed up at his door with suitcases. According to Amber, Derek told Mike some BS story about how I manipulated his family into turning against him because of my mental health issues or whatever. I'm not even kidding. He's been telling everyone that I have serious mental problems and doctored those screenshots out of jealousy. Like, The screenshots literally showed dates from when we were together and him talking about his current job. How exactly was I supposed to fake that? The most ridiculous part is that he keeps trying to contact me through mutual friends, even though I've blocked him everywhere. Last week, he literally had our old neighbor Jamie message me saying Derek misses me and thinks we should talk. No thanks. I've made it pretty clear I want nothing to do with him. I had a really eye-opening convo with Helen about a month ago where she told me Derek tried to spin this whole narrative with their extended family. He was calling people saying I had mental issues and was jealous and had manipulated the screenshots. It backfired though, because the evidence was literally right there. I mean, there were messages where he said he was single and described his exact job and living situation. His Aunt Martha called him directly and told him his behavior reminded her too much of his dad's cheating years ago. Apparently, his dad was a huge cheater, which explains so much about Derek, honestly. Oh, and get this. I found out through our mutual friend Chris that Derek actually physically cheated with at least 2 women he met on those apps. Not just flirting online, like he's been telling anyone who will listen. I felt sick when I found out. But the craziest part, one of these women, Megan, actually reached out to me after finding out Derek had been in a relationship the whole time. She found me on Instagram somehow and messaged me saying she had no idea Derek was with someone and felt horrible about it. We actually ended up meeting for coffee, which sounds completely insane, I know, but it was actually really healing. She showed me their text conversations, which confirmed everything, and told me Derek had said he was completely single and just temporarily living with his mom while looking for his own place. Which was partially true, I guess. Just conveniently left out the part where I existed and we were talking about marriage. I finally redecorated my apartment last month, which felt so good. I painted over that awful sage green color Derek had insisted on. Why did I let him pick the colors for my apartment and went with this really pretty blue instead? While moving furniture, I actually found one of his expensive watches behind the dresser and had no idea what to do with it. I ended up giving it to Amber to deal with because I didn't want any reason for direct contact. Sometimes, I still get really sad about everything and wonder if that means I still have feelings for him. But my therapist says I'm just sad about the relationship I thought I had, not the actual relationship with a lying cheater, which makes sense. As Derek realized his attempts to win me back weren't working, he started getting nastier. He started telling friends that I was keeping his family from him and turning them against him out of spite. Such bullshit. I didn't do anything except show them proof of what he was doing. Thankfully, Amber has been amazing about defending me to anyone who believes his version. She literally shows them the screenshots when necessary. I lost a few friends over this whole thing, which really hurts. Our friend Tara actually told me I was overreacting and should give him another chance because guys make mistakes. Are you kidding me? Creating multiple dating profiles and actively pursuing other women for months while we're talking about marriage is not a mistake. It's a series of deliberate choices. I stopped talking to her after that convo. About a month ago, Derek showed up at my apartment at freaking 2 a.m. He was obviously drunk and refused to leave, kept pounding on the door, saying we needed to talk and that I owed him a chance to explain. My neighbor Tom threatened to call the cops, but Derek just got louder. The police eventually came and made him leave, but I was shaking for hours afterwards. After that incident, Helen actually helped me get a restraining order against Derek. Isn't that wild? His own mother helped me file a legal document against him. She literally went with me to the courthouse and everything. The irony that Derek accused me of being mentally unstable when he's the one showing up drunk at my door in the middle of the night. I can't even. The whole restraining order process was exhausting and emotional, but ultimately really empowering. I never thought I'd be the person filing for something like that, but honestly, it was the right decision. I've started dating again very casually. Nothing serious at all, just coffee or drinks. And it's been nice to remember that not all men are manipulative liars. My therapist says I'm doing really well considering everything, and I honestly feel stronger than I have in years. Last month was Amber's birthday, and she invited me to the family celebration. It was honestly so weird being welcomed by all these people who are technically Derek's family, while he wasn't allowed to be there. Several of his cousins and his other aunt came up and hugged me and said they were sorry about everything. I had such mixed feelings about it. Like, I appreciate the support, but it's also just really sad that it had to be this way, you know? The craziest thing happened last week. I had my first art exhibition opening. I've been doing more personal design work outside my day job. It's been really therapeutic. Helen and Amber came to support me, which was so sweet of them. I was showing them my featured pieces when I suddenly noticed Derek walking into the gallery. I literally froze mid-sentence. He obviously didn't expect his mom and sister to be there because he looked completely shocked when he saw us all together. Helen immediately went into protective mode and asked what he was doing there. He claimed he came to support me and try to make amends. Amber had to remind him about the literal restraining order that says he can't come near me. He tried to argue that it doesn't apply to public places, which is not how restraining orders work. The gallery owner noticed something was wrong and came over. Derek started getting louder, saying they were turning his family against him and making a complete scene at my exhibition. Helen was amazing, though, and told him they made their choice based on his actions, not my words. Then, Derek accused me of manipulating everyone, and Helen reminded him about the screenshots of his own conversations. Security ended up escorting him out, and as he was leaving, he shouted that they'd regret taking my side. It was so embarrassing, but also weirdly validating to have witnesses to his behavior. Helen just hugged me afterwards and told me she considers me more family now than him, which made me cry right there in the gallery. I heard through mutual friends that Derek is already in a new relationship, but is still active on dating apps. I feel bad for this new girl, but also, it's not my problem anymore. I've debated whether I should warn her, but honestly, I don't think it's my responsibility. Plus, she'd probably just think I was a crazy ex anyway. The most unexpected thing happened last week. Helen asked me to coffee and gave me an envelope with almost $8,000 in it. This was the money Derek had been saving for our future while living at home. She said she couldn't undo her son's behavior, but wanted me to have what was meant for our future. I tried to refuse it, but she insisted. I ended up using part of it to book a solo trip to Portugal that I've always wanted to take, but Derek always said was impractical. It feels so liberating to make decisions without his input. Last night, I was at a birthday party for a mutual friend, and Derek had a server bring a drink to my table with a note saying he'd changed and wanted to talk. I sent the drink back untouched and left early. I'm finally feeling completely free of his influence, and it's amazing. Looking back, this whole awful betrayal actually led to some serious healing for me. My anxiety is so much better now that I'm not constantly worried about someone who might use it against me. I still have occasional panic attacks, but I'm not afraid of them being used as weapons anymore. I know now that I should always trust my instincts, even though obviously I missed about 1,000,000 red flags with Derek, lol. I don't know if Derek will ever really change or take accountability, but the best part is that I genuinely don't care anymore. It doesn't affect my life either way.